Hey guys, today I am talking with Carole Poffinbarger about ortho-bionomy. Ortho-bionomy is a therapeutic technique that relieves pain by helping a person rediscover their body's natural balance. Carole has been practicing ortho-bionomy for over 20 years and she's an advanced instructor in ortho-bionomy. Pull up a chair and buckle up. This is the Original Strength Podcast. Carole, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and give me a little bit about your background?
Okay, I am a licensed massage therapist in the great state of Ohio. I've been licensed for 30 years and I've studied different, modalities of body work. And about 21 years ago, an orthobionomy class came to my town, which is in Hamilton, north of Cincinnati. And I was just like, sure, I'll go. I'll take a class, and it was an orthobionomy phase 4 class, which is a foundation class. So I took this class and I was like kind of blown away by it. I was like amazed of how simple the work could be. If you want to know, professional wise, I've served on our board of directors. I now serve on a curriculum committee. I've been the president for 2 years on the board of directors. So I've been heavily involved with orthobionomy. And how I got involved in it, like I said, I took my first class and I would take some of the exercises that I learned and I would take them in to my clients. Some may have had like a trauma of whiplash or different things. And I just found that it was easy, it was effective. The results were, amazing. I didn't have to work hard. And so then I'm like, well, I'll just go on and take more classes. And I kind of became a class junkie with the work. And I really didn't know how it worked, but I didn't care. It was like, this is great. And I loved being in class. I loved getting worked on. So that's kind of how I got involved in that. But I just found it was really helpful with my clients, and I didn't have to work hard and they didn't have to work hard and they didn't get beat up. And I have 3 grandchildren that I'm proud to say, 2 kids. They all are in different sports, which is always fun because, hey, grandma, can you do that thing on me? And sure, come on over. And but they're everything to me. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
I got to ask you a question.
Sure.
You said this word at least 4 times.
Oh,
What is orthobionomy?
well, I was going to explain that. So orthobionomy used to be called the phase reflex technique, but yeah, orthobionomy means bionomy means the study of life, and ortho, I believe, is straight. It's so funny because they've called it orthobionics. They've butchered the word, kind of like they butcher my last name, but and then I have to say it's orthobionomy, or they'll come in and go, hey, can you do that bionic stuff? And I'm like, you mean orthobionomy? Yes. So that's what it means. And you're working with the structure of a person's body. So that's kind of where that ortho comes in.
So that's what it means. Now, what
Yeah.
is it?
Oh,
When you use orthobionomy like on someone or you help somebody with it, like what are you doing? What is it?
I am working with their structure and their muscular skeletal system. And then studying like what's going on with their body. That to me, it's kind of like we become little detectives, and we're studying what's going on with their body.
So is it something that is done to you, or is it something when you work with your clients, is it something they can go home and do
Oh, they
on
can,
their own?
yeah, they can go home. So it's what I do with them. They are exercises or techniques, that I do with their body. And then they can go home and they can also learn some of the exercises to do for self-care.
And so for somebody that could benefit from orthobionomy, is it a specific type person, or do they have injuries or limitations or?
Limitations, injuries, some people want to be touched, but they don't want to have massage done because they don't want to take their clothing off. And it can be very relaxing, for them. But in my practice, I see a lot of injuries. They have chronic, pain with back, with shoulders, with neck, with knees. There can be people that come in that have had some kind of a trauma. And our work seems to be, because it's so gentle, Tim, that it doesn't create pain. And so sometimes it's safer for them to come in and have gentle body work than it is to, have a force, whether it's a chiropractor, or even, I used to do deep tissue, and it's better to not cause pain. That's one of our principles.
So when somebody comes to you and they're in pain, and so do you evaluate their body? Like, does it talk to you? Like, how do you get started with orthobionomy?
Yes, 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 and yes. So the first thing I want to do is I want to listen, right? I want to listen to what if they're coming in and they're saying, I have, debilitating, back pain, what can you do for me? And I look at the whole person, but I'm going to listen to what they're saying, and I'm going to treat the back first. Then it becomes, when you treat like the back or an area, and you kind of move things around and you might notice something else is happening in their body, then you're going to shift to that to see. Sometimes a low back problem can be caused from them limping, right? If their gait is messed up. So I listen to what their ailment is, and then I go in that direction to work with them.
When people are in pain and they seek a professional for help, oftentimes they're guarded, like
Right.
especially if they've been in chronic pain or they're just afraid that they're going to hurt.
Right.
How, and you said that orthobionomy, you're able to treat people with it without putting them in pain. Well,
Right.
that
How do
does
we?
sound very gentle. How do you do that?
So let's say, I know you were going to ask this, and I'm in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, I got this explanation. So let's say that I've got a gentleman who just came in the other day with really a chronic neck. It's almost like everything is just so frozen. So I'm going to work with small little amounts, and I'm not going to cause pain. So taking the neck and turning it, right?
Mhm.
And if it hurts to go to the right, but not to the left, then I'm going to gently take it to the left and maybe just do a little static hold there and see what happens. Now, you can also use monitoring points, along the cervical spine, with that, but that's kind of a general area of, what I do. So I'm going to go in the opposite direction of what's causing pain. And if sometimes people will come in and they'll say, all right, I have this thing in my neck and it's my neck. And you do the range of motion and you look and you see that there might be a pulling that may be coming from the first rib. So there's an exercise for the first rib where you're going to hike that shoulder up and you're going to exaggerate what that rib is doing, because that first rib may be pulling up. So if you exaggerate that, and then we have like a little isometric move that you can do, and then we might add some light compression. But every time I'm doing this, I always ask, am I causing any discomfort? Am I causing any pain? Because if it does, then I don't do it, because it does set up a defense mechanism where if you are causing pain, they just kind of go back into this defense mode. It's a holding pattern. Like it's like you go up and ring the doorbell, and I talk about this in class. It's like you ring that doorbell one too many times, that nervous system's going to go, God, just stop ringing the doorbell. And there's an advanced instructor called Luann Overmeyer who worked with Dr. Pauls, and actually she has a book out that's for self-care, but and it's on our website, but she writes in the development about ortho-bionomy that Dr. Pauls looked upon this work as an education of the structural faults of the body. And in his writing, he said, remember, the most manipulative practices are based upon forceful approaches. It has been proven that the body responds better when it is given the correct motive for change. Change can only come about when the instincts of the body are summoned in such a way that the body does not resist change. Anything beyond this is force, which when applied too much leads to only to rebellion of the self instead of reunification of the harmonic whole.
So that what you read was actually helpful. So it almost seems like ortho-bionomy kind of tries to find the flow of the person and go in that direction.
Right. And one of the principles is then, we want to increase the movement. We want to increase the improvement and movement of a joint, of a plane. So yes.
I read that because I didn't really know what ortho-bionomy was. So I started like looking at articles and stuff. And I read this one account where a lady had a bruise and her instructor helped her. He did ortho-bionomy on her and the bruise just went away instantly as she was looking at it. And she wrote something that said ortho-bionomy is like the middle path between denying something's there and over-identifying with the something.
Yes.
Can you, and like, which I thought was like, wow, that sounds really like really deep.
I mean, it is deep. And I think the work is deep, and it's deep on so many levels. We work with the structure, fascia, lymphatic, circulatory, visceral. I'm wondering, what happened with that is, was something really tightened, was something tight in there that was constricting the blood flow of that bruise. And once things opened up, you got that pathway, opened up, whether obviously it's the circulatory system, then that bruise could just kind of dissipate. So yes, I mean, I've seen, many things happen, and you kind of go, did that just happen? And that's kind of, when I first was learning this, it was like, oh, it's magic.
Well, that is neat to me, but I think what her explanation, because this is like, when somebody's in pain, they either like, you don't want to be in pain, so you try to deny it's there, or you get sucked into it so far where you do over identify it, right?
Right.
So in the way she said that this is the middle path, to not, you're not denying it's there, but you're not getting sucked into it and attached to it, and that leads to the optimal route for you to be able to heal from whatever your issue is.
Yes.
Which I thought was like, I was like, well, man, that you could almost apply that if you could grab onto that way of thinking.
Sure.
That alone would be just so helpful.
Right. Well, and I think too, people look for us. We're a lot of times the last resort, because they've tried everything else. They're in so much pain, and it's, they come to us. But yeah, so I'm going to have to go and look and see whose website that's on. I think,
you know what? I know where that article's at. I'll send it to you.
me. And again, there's so many stories that I've heard, just from, they did this thing on me and this happened, and it's pretty incredible.
Now, this may be the same thing as the flow, helping somebody go into the direction of their flow. But I did read on, I think it was Ortho-Bionomy's website, that it takes the energetic patterns that bring the body, mind, and spirit into harmony.
Right.
How does that happen?
Well, there's the belief that, in our energetic field. So say that we've had this ongoing issue or trauma in our body, and somehow it can affect the energetic field. Arthur found that he could work in the energetic field to affect the physical. I know it sounds a little, but.
So my question is okay, how does that work?
So there are different exercises. that you can do. And now I've got to think up off the top of my head. All right, I'm going to give you one example, and it's called the puppy walk. When we approach the body, we're going to walk around the table to see where we feel invited in. Think about when you're at the grocery store. I give this example. When you're at the grocery store and somebody is behind you with their shopping cart, and they're like, keep pushing up against you, and you're kind of like backing up, kind of like they're in that aura space, that energy
space.
Yeah. And it's like, you want to like, get back. So with that, so when we do like the puppy walk, and I don't know why it's called the puppy walk, there's probably a different name, but you walk around to like see where you feel invited in. And sometimes, you may think, all right, it feels like I could start at the neck, and then you check in with them and go, hey, how does that feel? And they're like, no, it's really uncomfortable for me. So then you're going to walk around again because you're feeling that energetic field. And then you might touch the feet, and be in that auric space. Okay, is this all right? Yeah, I think you can work there. And you can work, like off the body. There's many modalities that, do work off the body and energetic practices. But that's how you start. And that's one way. And then you can also work the cervical, just by having your hands like, so for instance, if I had somebody that came in and they're like, do not touch my neck, and people that have had any kind of like head trauma, and you go to touch their head, and we had a guy that he was in a motorcycle accident, there was no way you could touch his head. And we would have to just kind of work out here and kind of feel like the energetic patterns of what was happening with, like with the cranium. And like with the neck, you might feel, there's a little bit of an energetic movement, and that's what you work with. And in the energetic work too, Arthur had the reflexes that he called like an ongoing reflex, which what it feels like in your hands, and this is not always the case because, things can shift, but an ongoing pattern, it feels like you're in a rocking chair, how, like you're being rocked, and then all of a sudden it just tapers down, and then it's nothing, or then, infinity. Or you might feel a follow-on pattern, which is another reflex, and it will like, so there's one where you work like the quadratus, and you're going to take the hip and you're kind of doing this movement, like here's your pattern, and you pause and you let their nervous system finish out the pattern. So it's kind of like Arthur used to talk about Mary had a little, and the answer, Mary had a little lamb. So then you let their nervous system kind of like finish it, whether it's the nervous system, energetic field, muscular system. It's, and I think too, you have to have an open mind, and because some people don't believe that there's, an energetic field, or I don't know, there's just different, different belief systems, but
like you said, you're the last. If people come to you last,
yeah,
they're probably very open to energetic
right.
fields, making them feel better.
I tell you, I've really been blessed. I've studied with some absolutely incredible instructors, and one instructor, her son was in a really bad car accident, and she talked about how she had to work outside of his hospital room, and it was like, whoa, fascinating. And I think that's one part where Arthur was so excited about his work that he went to show Lawrence Jones. He worked on Dr. Jones's wife, and he worked off the body and got a like profound change. I don't know if he was working on her psoas, but anyway, Lawrence said that's not my work, that's your work. But yeah, but I never met Arthur, but from what I understand, he was quite something.
So you're saying, though, you can help someone heal without even ever putting your hands on them.
Yeah. But, we don't come in as healers.
Right.
I always say we're a facilitator. We help show them the path that they can take.
Well, it's probably a team sport, though, right? Like you're
Oh,
willing to heal, they're willing to be healed, and
it is the team
dance
sport,
together.
right? It is very much a team sport. Yes.
All right, so I'm going to go back to this question because now I'm really fascinated. So say
Okay.
somebody comes to you and they're in pain, and you walk around to see where you're invited, and say you find that maybe you do want to approach their neck, but you don't necessarily want to touch their neck because they don't want you to,
Right.
and you're in the right spot, and they feel better for whatever it is you do, and then you send them home. What do you have them do when they're at home? Like, or is that maybe too broad?
Well,
But
no, I think that's a great question. Number one is they need to make sure that they take care of themselves, no, not overdo it, and keep themselves comfortable, um, show them, some physical things that they can do, let's say, uh, my right now I'm in our basement, it's cold, and I'm like, my shoulders are like this. And
Mhm.
and so one of my self-care things would be to just kind of hold my shoulders up and take tension off of the muscles and then relax it again. So we'd send them home with some things that they can do, for themselves.
In that example, though, you said, okay, so this is neat to me. So you're cold, so your shoulders are up. And instead of trying to approach that by relaxing the shoulders and getting them to drop, you actually went with the flow or the direction that they wanted to go, and to encourage them to relax when you drop them.
Yes. Yes.
That's pretty neat. That's
Yeah.
cool. Not necessarily familiar with that approach all the time. So that's fascinating. All right. So how long then have you been? Because I think you're a master practitioner of orthobionomy, yes?
I'm an advanced practitioner. Yes. Yes.
And how long have you been doing that?
Maybe 18 years. To be an advanced practitioner, it's about 1,000 hours of classroom hours. I mean, it's pretty in depth. It's a great program, actually.
But you've been doing it for almost 20 years. So that first experience or exposure to orthobionomy, like it lit your wick that
Oh
much.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that. It lit my wick. Yeah, yeah,
Right on. So if somebody's at home and they're in pain and they're trying to, maybe they are at they're at the end of their rope, and they
yeah.
want to know more about orthobionomy, what are some resources that somebody could
Well,
go to?
I would tell them, like if they're looking for someone in their area, the best thing to do is go to, our website, which is www.orthobionomy.org. You can, scroll through it and like see where you have a practitioner. And if not, you can always, call the office and they will know someone in the area.
If somebody's in Ohio and they want to reach out to you, what's
If
the
they
best way they
come
can contact
to me, they can, I'll give you my email address. It is poffin, P like in Paul, OFF like in Frank, IN at fuse, F as in Frank, U as in Sam, E.net.
you? Awesome. Carole, this has been very, very
Oh,
fascinating. Thank you so much for your time.
thank you. I appreciate it, and keep doing your beautiful work. It's just amazing, and I really enjoyed this.
Yes,
And
ma'am. Thank you so
information
much. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great weekend.